Your Excellency the Governor, Honorable Premier Mr. McLaughlin, Deputy Governor Mr. Franz Manderson, U.S. Executive Assistant Commissioner Todd Owen, and other members of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection delegates, leaders with the Governor's Office and the Ministry of Human Resources and Immigration, officials with the Department of Immigration and Customs, and members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And thank you for coming to today's signing ceremony of the Declaration of Principles regarding implementation of the Cayman Islands Airport Fast Track Pilot at Miami International Airport. The declaration that will be signed shortly follows an announcement made by the Premier about a year ago. And a lot of hard work has gone in by a number of agencies here in Cayman, in the UK, and in the United States to make this a reality. We would like to take this opportunity to particularly thank Mr. Owen and his staff in Washington and Mr. Chris Maston, CBP Port Director at Miami International Airport, and his team for their support in this process. The declaration will be signed by Mr. Owen on behalf of U.S. Customs and Border Protection and by the Deputy Governor, Mr. Manderson, on behalf of the Cayman Islands government. Following the signing, the Premier and Mr. Owen will say a few words, and we will then take questions from the media. Thank you. I now invite Her Excellency the Governor, the Premier, to join the Deputy Governor and Mr. Owen, Mr. Howell, and the other members of the U.S. CBP team for a photo.
Welcome to the press conference. We're happy to take any questions you may have for us. The Premier will share a few words and then we'll proceed.
I love how to go straight to questions. Thank you all for coming. I just really want to say a few words. This has been something that we have been planning and hoping for quite some time. Unfortunately, the forces of nature intervened with a spate of hurricanes across the region, and it got delayed for quite a few months. But I'm delighted that we are here today and finally able to get together with the United States Customs and Border Protection to sign the Memorandum of Understanding, which you've just witnessed. This will allow Cayman immigration and customs officers to work at Miami International Airport to pre-clear passengers departing for these islands. The signing of the MOU and work on border protection is a good example of a multi-agency approach within the civil service and our friends in the United States. This was an initiative begun under the last administration, and I'm happy to see it finally becoming a reality. Once again, the Cayman Islands is at the forefront of working with our regional neighbors to ensure security and safety for traveling visitors and residents. All of this is part of this government's overall plans to improve border protection while at the same time making travel to our islands more convenient for Caymanians, residents, and visitors alike. I believe it is going to be very welcome to all who use it. This is unprecedented. It is the first such arrangement that the United States government has entered into with any other country, and we have a heavy burden to ensure that we do it right and that they don't regret it. So with those few words, I want to simply turn it over to questions.
No,
Oh.
Mr.
Yes, oh, you have a few words.
Thank you, sir. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. It's my privilege to be here today representing U.S. Customs and Border Protection as we formally establish the Airport Fast Track Program. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has a very strong history of cooperation and collaboration with the government of the Cayman Islands, and it's a relationship that we value very greatly. The Airport Fast Track Program is designed to enhance aviation security by identifying, detecting, and intercepting high-risk individuals without inhibiting legitimate lawful travelers. In fact, this program will actually enhance the facilitation for those traveling between Miami and Grand Cayman. I believe that the Airport Fast Track Program will become to be seen by many as a model in the region for enhancing aviation security while facilitating legitimate travel. We are excited about the program within U.S. Customs and Border Protection. We're excited about our continued partnership with the government of the Cayman Islands, and we are ready to get started. So thank you.
Now it's time for questions and answers.
Can I just clarify from the notes? It's not just limited to Cayman Airways, is it?
The pilot program is only with Cayman Airways.
Oh,
at this
it
point,
is.
Yes.
And it's just Sundays. Is there? That's the busiest day. Is that why we've just picked Sundays?
The flights from Cayman Airways, flights from Miami, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays are the days that they have 3 flights per day, starting in March. And we're looking at which of those days the heaviest load factors are on, and those are the days that we will put on the fast track clearance.
Will staff from here go through any special or different training for going out to Miami?
Similar training to what they're doing, we then have to work with our American counterparts to ensure that we have the necessary permissions to work in the airport. But other than that, they're performing similar functions to what they do here. We're just having it done while passengers are waiting for their flights to be boarded. So we're using the downtime already waiting on departures for the fast track process.
Just the final one recently, and obviously there's been another incident this week. We've had situations where US travellers who are legally allowed to have guns in the United States come here with their loaded gun in their bag. Will that be something that you'll be able to focus on maybe a bit more to try and stop these stray bullets and guns coming in?
Absolutely. So customs and immigration are working hand in hand in the U.S. Prior to departure, and that's one of the things that we can help reinforce with passengers before departure and during the screening process in Miami.
Wendy, could I just make one sort of bit of clarification on what Wes has said? As he says, the initial flights will be the Cayman Airways flights that they'll be targeting, but there are also going to be some discussions with American Airlines as well. So that, obviously they won't be giving a commercial advantage to one or the other. So at some stage there will be that. There are some more technical issues in terms of American Airlines because of where they're based in Miami, and their gates change, and it's quite a large terminal, so there needs to be a little bit more work done on that.
James here from the Cayman Compass. Could you just explain what the advantages are of doing this in America rather than doing it in the Cayman Islands, other than, you know, it clears a bottleneck here in terms of the speed of passengers coming through, but from a security perspective, what are the advantages of doing it stateside?
Okay, so having traveled myself from jurisdictions who have pre-clearance into the U.S., you land as domestic, so you clear all your immigration and border control aspects before you board the plane. The experience once you arrive at your jurisdiction is that much more welcoming, that much more easy. You're using the time that you're already at the airport, waiting between check-in and departure to be pre-cleared, or in our case, fast-tracked. So that should make sense if the volumes are there to ensure that we're giving a really good experience on arrival. And we're actually also able to extend our security checks before individuals board flights.
Okay, and are there, the same goes going the other way, right? I mean, all of us have gone into Miami and had to wait. Is there any plans to have a reciprocal arrangement where you can pre-clear on the way out?
We knew you were going to ask that. When we took office in 2013, this was one of the key areas that we wanted to address. So the Deputy Premier and myself commissioned a study to be done and a report provided about whether it could be done, because there were some legal issues with respect to numbers, and whether we had we met the threshold in terms of numbers to get the concession in the first place, and there were a number of other legal issues. So we had the report done, and we looked at the numbers, and we also looked at the costs of providing or of obtaining and providing this service on a recurrent basis. And unfortunately, we had to conclude that it simply was not feasible. It is extremely expensive, and the numbers of passengers going through the Cayman Islands or leaving the Cayman Islands for the United States simply cannot justify the costs. And it's not just the capital costs, it's the recurrent costs of the operation, because we would have to provide full service, including salaries for U.S. personnel who would be there, among other things. So I don't know if they want to help me out, but but that was the conclusion we reached, and the little chat I had with them before we came here hasn't changed my perspective about that.
Yeah, U.S. pre-clearance is not designed for every market, because again, the volumes have to be there to justify the return on investment. So it can be quite costly in some expenses. With that said, though, we have adopted several new types of technology and several new processes at the arrival airports that have greatly facilitated the arrival of those international passengers. And Mr. Maston is our port director at Miami International Airport, and I'll ask him to quickly just kind of outline some of those enhancements that make those from arriving from Grand Cayman go through our process even more quickly than a year ago.
So roughly 80% of our passengers that arrive internationally at Miami Airport. Miami is the second largest international passenger operation in the United States. We're behind JFK and ahead of LAX, so right in the slot there. About 12 million passengers will process arriving this year. We have to find efficient ways to do this without stepping away from our security mission. 80% of our arriving international passengers interact with some new advanced technology, be it either part of our trusted traveler cadre and global entry, automated passport control kiosks, where passengers go to a kiosk and perform all of the administrative parts of an inspection with a kiosk before seeing an officer, and mobile passport control, which is essentially the automated kiosk that's now that function performed through an app on a mobile phone. And now the latest integration of advanced technology is our facial recognition pilot that we are testing inbound currently in Miami and Atlanta. We have 8 flights a day now processing European flights, wide-body jets, processing through facial recognition technology. It's extremely accurate, very secure, and very, very fast. And so we're pretty excited about the array of technology that we're bringing to border security. And the industry is thrilled at just the speed and efficiency of the passengers flowing through our operation. And we're very confident that we've got a secure approach here, that we're getting the right people stopped, the people that pose a risk to our national security and a threat to border security, while facilitating the vast majority of travelers that are just traveling. They're legitimate, they're not smuggling, they have the right documents. That's the objective, getting those people sort of out of our way, right? The legitimate travelers are the distraction. We want to get to the ones that are committing border crimes or some other nefarious activity, and the technology is really helping us get there. And it's improving the experience, right, for passengers. So that's where we're going.
Hello, everybody. Joe Avery, Cayman 27. I wanted to ask a couple of things on the Cayman end. That would be in terms of employment. Does this create new jobs at Customs or Immigration, or is this a repurposement of existing workforce? And then for the U.S. side, I'll have something after that one.
We are operating a really low overhead cost model, so we will be dispatching officers the day of or the evening before they work in Miami, bringing them back the evening of the last flight. So we're bypassing, some of the expenses from having staff fully based in the U.S. So we're using existing staff members. There's not additional salary costs. So from an overhead perspective, no additional jobs at this point, but we are keeping our costs low in terms of being able to provide that service with our existing team of officers on both Customs and Immigration.
And for the U.S. contingent, what criteria did the Cayman Islands have to meet to be able to qualify for such a unique and kind of groundbreaking arrangement in terms of pre-clearances? Were there any boxes that we had to tick after the initial kick around of the idea, like technology or et cetera, that we had to meet before this was able to be implemented?
No, we've had a very long and healthy relationship with the government of the Cayman Islands, with the Immigration Department and with the Customs Department. So they've been a strong partner throughout. When they first approached us about this idea over a year ago, they were a natural partner to try to explore this concept with. In terms of new technologies or new training, there is none of that. We have worked out operating procedures, if you will, to make sure they have access to the parts of the airport that they need so they can perform their duties throughout. So again, it was a natural fit because of the strong relationship that we do have with the Cayman Islands.
My last question, I guess with U.S. immigration policy right now, kind of the buzzword you hear is the extreme vetting. This seems to be kind of run counter to that current. Is there anything particular about Cayman Islands that beyond the extended relationship that you alluded to that makes us capable of pulling this off with you guys?
Again, I think when we look at the analysis of the historical flights and the types of issues that we would find, it was a very low-risk population overall, and it was a natural for this type of pilot.
Yeah, just a quick final question. Is there a cost attached to this for the Cayman Islands government, and what is it?
Costs are, again, as I mentioned earlier, quite low. We're talking some subsistence while the officers are in Miami, but salaries are sunk costs. We're using existing staff. With Cayman Airways, we're partnered with them to use non-revenue seats, so we're not displacing passengers when we fly our officers up. So, this is the recurring cost is a very low threshold, and it is a pilot we're reviewing after the first 30 days to examine how the operations go. But from an equipment and personnel perspective, very low entry cost, almost negligible. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to thank you for coming and thank our counterparts and the Premier for their support as we work towards this initiative. Thank you very much.